The following is an encore presentation of stories from the Dooralong Transformation Centre.
Our host Becky is still with me. We've been having tea, no biscuits or cakes, but we've been drinking tea for the last 20 minutes or so. So again, good morning, Becky.
Good morning.
Is it Becky or Becca?
No, it's Becky.
It's Becky,
Yep.
good. Right, you told us just before the 10 o'clock news that you have been at Dooralong for about 14 months now.
Yes, yep.
That's quite a long time, isn't it?
It is, well, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's that long. For me, I've struggled with addiction for quite a while through my early teens. Well, it started when I was 10 with food, and then through my early teens with alcohol, and then later teens with drugs. And it started off as speed and ecstasy, and then it grew into ice and crime, and so it's been a spiral.
Yeah. So set against that sort of past history, 14 months is
not very long.
It's not very long at all.
Yeah.
Hey, and look, listeners, just a heads up, we will be talking about some adult themes with Becky. So if you've got little ones there that you prefer not to listen, then perhaps find something to keep them otherwise engaged. Okay, Becky, you say you've been in addiction for an awful long time.
Yes.
Yeah, when did it all start for you?
So I was abused when I was about 6. So, when I was 6, I don't remember a lot of it. I've blocked a lot of that out. But it started when I was 6, and then when I was 10, the teacher at school told us a story about how her brother had been abused, and then how he went crazy, and I thought, I'm not going crazy, I'm going to tell someone. But for me, it was such a spiral that I look back now and I think I wish that I never told anyone that I'd been abused, because so they didn't believe me when I was 10, and it was really cast aside. Some heavy trauma.
Yeah, that must have been really hard, plucking up the courage to tell an adult, mum, dad maybe, and then for them not to believe you. It feels like rejection. Yeah, so I thought when I was 10, I just had to tell one person. That was my reality. So I told one of the kids at school, and she was freaked out and told the teacher, and then it spiraled. So then the teacher told the principal, the police were called in. And as a 10-year-old, it's quite confronting to be in a room, so that the police were there, and then you also have your parents and another counsellor in the room when you have to give a statement. And so for me, it was, I just closed up and stay closed probably. And my first trip I used my parents' guilt against them for a long time. I would scream obscenities at them when I was using and drunk, and if I wanted money. And so for me, it was just a circle of insanity. And that's when. Is that when the drugs started?
Yeah, so I have sort of had long periods of clean time. I worked as a nurse out in the Indigenous communities. I just couldn't stay in Nowra, and I knew that I needed to move away from the drugs. I just didn't know how to get clean and stay clean. So I would work in remote areas, and then fly. I used to do fly-in, fly-out work. So I would just be away from them. Yeah. But that sort of all stopped about 6 years ago, when I really hit a downward spiral, and so from then, 6 years ago, I've been in and out of jail, in and out of rehabs. I've spent the last 6 years probably 70% of it clean, but when I'm not clean, it's insanity. My life is a train wreck.
Yeah. You said that you were a nurse, but then you also said you didn't know how to find help. I mean, that perhaps just shows you that, well, firstly, it can affect anybody, these addictions, but also it is difficult finding the help out there.
It definitely is. So for me, I worked on dry communities, so alcohol I just didn't know that I had a problem with alcohol, and I'm not an everyday drinker. I was a binge drinker, so for me, I could go months without drinking, and then I would fly back to New South Wales and then start drinking and partying, and then sometimes would change 4 flights because I wouldn't go home. I would just be in a...
Were you scaring yourself? Were you saying, Becky, this isn't normal, Becky, you've got to do something about this? Or was it, she'll be right, mate?
Yeah, she'll be right, mate. Which is my life is... my friend used to say, that seemed like a really good idea at the time.
At the time.
Yeah, that was... So my life has been, I probably shouldn't have done that.
So I suppose if somebody had come alongside and tried to give you some advice or sort of introduce you to rehabs or counselling, would you have rejected it at that stage?
My first rehab I went to, I was 21. I really went there to pacify my parents, to just really get them to get off my back.
Yeah.
I had no intention of staying clean or stopping to drink. I thought about it when I was there. It was a short 6-week course. And they said to me back then, you really need to go and do long-term rehab. I'm like, no, I don't think so.
So what did you think your life was going to look like 10, 20 years down the track at this time when you're saying to yourself, I don't want to stop drugs. I'm happy, I'm okay with it.
I was quite okay because I was functioning back then when I was 21. I worked. I wasn't, I was quite functioning. So I honestly didn't think about it. And even when, 6 years ago, I was living in Gladstone in Queensland, and by that stage I'd stopped nursing and I had moved, because it's different, so there's different qualifications. So remote nursing is quite different to regional or city nursing. And I had moved to Gladstone, and I was working for Westpac as a banking advisor. So, I was still drinking a lot. But I had a nervous breakdown at work, and I just wasn't happy at home. My partner was an alcoholic. It was really toxic. It wasn't a great relationship, and I'd picked up a work addiction, and then I stopped going to work. I'd found an ice dealer in Gladstone, and then it all just fell apart from there.
So the common theme really is during this long time that you were in addiction, well, to me anyway, the common theme seems to be that your personal life is a mess. Firstly, because you were abused and nobody would believe you. But then you say that you got into an abusive relationship with a guy, and so there was never any stable...
No, background. I haven't. No, never. I haven't had a stable... I've been running, for years. I just haven't stopped, and so living at Dooralong it's been the longest place. It's my longest address that I've had in years, since I moved out of home at 15.
When did the change take place from you saying, I don't really want to stop, I'm going to do rehab just to tick a box, mum and dad, just to get them off my back? When did it change to, I really do, I've got to change, this is going to have to...
Yeah, so I think the last time I was arrested and I was at Silverwater Jail, because I present quite well when I am clean and sober, and so for me, I used to have a lady from the prison fellowship come in and pray with me, and she would come in every time I have been arrested, and I've been to jail quite a few times. So she would always come and see me. So she said, you're not letting Jesus in. And by this stage, I had been to Salvation Army. I'd done the William Booth program in 2017, and I'd been to Dooralong, so I had a concept of Jesus, and I liked the idea of it, but I guess I hadn't opened my heart to him. So for me, she said, because I thought, the Christians do it all right, they seem to have it together. But she said, you're not getting it. And I was like, I'll do anything. And so her name was Pam. She was a lovely woman. She said, you need to get on your knees and you need to beg Jesus to come into your life. And I was like, I'm not doing it here. Like, we were in visits.
Sounds a bit weird to me.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not. in the middle of visits in this, I don't know if anyone's been to a correctional centre, but it's not the
done thing.
Yes, you definitely don't get on your knees in visits. But I thought, you know what, I'm so sick of this life.
Yeah.
Like I'm
nothing to lose.
Yeah, nothing to lose. I'm so desperate. I was desperate. And so I came in to this recovery, you know, with that gift of desperation of like I had nothing left, and so I got on my knees, and I think that's when it started to change. I finally let Jesus in. I said that I was going to let him in, you know, and then I don't know. I thought I was a bit crazy. I thought Christians were a bit crazy. I just think
they've been called worse.
Yeah. I thought. Well, yeah. I just thought I just didn't understand it, and now I'm one of those crazy people that love to talk about Jesus if someone is up for it. So
that's great.
Yeah, it is. It is. So for me, from there, I went to Dooralong. I got released from custody and went to Dooralong, and I wanted to run. I didn't want to be there. It was really hard. I spent my first month crying, and I had to get on my knees again and beg Jesus, please just make me stay. Whatever happens, just let me finish this program.
Give me strength
to carry on, yeah. And I don't know, it just started to change. And then I started to go to chapel, and it wasn't until this Easter that I fully let Jesus in, that I thought, you know what, you can have my life because I'm not doing it very well.
Terrific.
So that is sort of how it has. I don't know if that was the question, but anyway.
No, I forgot my question, but it was super anyway.
Yeah.
Look, we're going to break for some more music. We'll come back after the music. We'll catch up with more of Becky's story. But who are we going to stand? We're talking to Becky, who's been telling us about the addictions she faced and how she found herself at Dooralong 14 months ago, Becky?
Yes.
Yeah. Did it immediately work for you? Did you think, this is the answer I've been looking for? Or
no, definitely not.
No, I didn't think so.
I still had, I guess, reservations, and it probably was only until this last week that I finally closed the last door on my old life. And I've really had to. I've spent the weekend really, I guess, grieving that old life, and it was. When I was in Nowra, they had done simultaneous drug raids on houses, and 5 of my friends, they were my friends, they are all arrested, and I thought, that would have been me if I would have. And they're not looking at little time. Like I've done quite well in the grand scheme of things, quite short periods of incarceration, but they are going to go for a couple of years, and I just think, thank you God that I am not in that, because I would have been right in the thick of that.
You said there that you sort of closed the last door on your old life. Does it feel like that? Does it feel like you are? Yeah, you have to put your old life away. You have to sort of let it go. And is it, as you said, a grieving process?
It definitely is a grieving process. And I think, the life that I had back then, the fun and the partying, it doesn't exist anymore. No. And it hasn't existed for quite a long time. And I look at it like my childhood is not there anymore. I did have quite a traumatic. I had quite an emotional and traumatic childhood, but I had great periods with my brother and sister.
It wasn't all bad.
It wasn't all bad, no, exactly. But that's closed now too. I can never go back there, and that doesn't exist.
So it's grieving for the good times, the fun times.
Fun times, but it's time to move on.
Build a new life.
Build a new life. Yeah.
And you're a mentor there, you were telling us.
I am a mentor out there, yes.
Yeah. So when you said earlier that you spent your first month at Dooralong in tears and breaking down, you now come alongside newcomers who are going through that same experience that you went through. Yeah.
So I love it when people quite break. No, I don't love it when they're breaking down. That's
but when they're being honest,
I think,
and open.
When they're being really vulnerable, and I think that's what you need to do.
That.
Yeah, it means that they're coming into it, because at some stage, everyone has to go. There's I guess for me, going into addiction, you don't go into it willingly. It's not something that I chose to. Or I would choose for anyone. And there's some really, for me, there was some dark-seated pain that I just didn't think that I could go through. But being out there in a really safe place, you can be vulnerable and you can let that really that debilitating pain out. So I don't like to see people in that, but I think that's good. This is what you need. You feel safe enough.
Stage.
Yeah, I feel, and it is different for everyone. But I think that that's a really good turning point, is when people are really open and vulnerable, and you think, yes, that it's working.
Is this what some of the guys and girls from Dooralong in the past have called sort of the gift of desperation?
Yeah,
when you're absolutely desperate.
Yep, totally the gift of desperation. You just come in and you're just so broken that you've tried to die, you've tried to, but God has got a different plan. So for me.
Yeah. You speak quite openly now about God and Jesus. How big a part of your life is your faith?
Oh, a huge part of my faith, and I guess for me, we call it a higher power in AA or NA, and for me that is how it helped. I would, it is the most important thing, I think, because it's so. I just have to trust, no matter how painful some of my trauma gets, that God is there and that He is a supernatural power that will bring me through it. So it has been I couldn't have done this without having a faith. There's no way I could, because I get quite like now thinking about how it was hard.
Yeah. So a secular sort of program probably wouldn't have worked for you.
No, probably not.
It needed that.
No,
that spiritual impact.
Yeah, definitely. And the Salvos are so wonderful. They just love you back to life. And I thought that I needed something that was quite strict, and because I've done other rehab programs where they're quite. It's not Christian based, and I mean they're great programs, and I think they're wonderful. But for me, I didn't love myself, so I needed someone else to love me until I could love myself.
And that's what the Salvos do.
That's what the Salvos do. Yep.
Amazing people.
Amazing. Yeah.
You've also been putting your time to good use and getting some qualifications because you want to give back. What are you doing?
So I've only got 2 units left of my Cert 4 in community services. So it's taken me. I started it in 2017, but I've struggled in and out of jail, but I've got 2 units to finish, and I'm nearly finished them. So then I'll have my Cert 4.
And we can let our listeners into a secret. You actually do have a sort of assessment later on today.
I do.
It's going to be a Zoom assessment.
It is, yeah. So we do our role plays on Zoom now, for COVID, but it'll be okay. I don't mind that I can have sticky notes, so I can cheat a little bit.
Ooh, they didn't hear that. You'll be fine. And then your idea is to work in the drug and alcohol field.
Yeah. So I would really love. Dooralong has got the Salvos have another program down at in Surrey Hills called William Booth House, and I did 11 months there in 2017, and that's where I would love to work as a caseworker.
When you say you did.
Yeah, so
that was as a resident.
Yeah. So I was a participant in that program, and so I just love the city. I love the country too, but I do love.
You're a
city
lot
girl.
On.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I don't know what I am. Because I really love I wish that I had enough money to.
That's what's so good about the coast. We can be in a city and we can be in the bush almost at the same time.
Yeah, it's cool.
Look, it's been an absolute delight to talk to you, Becky, to hear about that long journey, but it's been well worth it for you, hasn't it? You have God in your life. You've just got 2 units to get your Cert 4. You've got plans to sort of help and give back through that community work. And it's chapel night tonight as well, isn't it? No singing.
No singing.
Is that hard?
Yes.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine, because there's so much energy in that room. Where does it go if you can't sing? Dancing? Perhaps you all get up and stomp your feet, or no?
There's a lot. Well, I guess after chapel we have coffee and cake, and I guess there's a bit more energy than there used to be out there.
Yeah. Give our very best to everybody back at Dooralong. They are doing great work out there, and we just pray that God will continue to bless you as He seems to have been doing for the last sort of 14 months or so.
Great.
Thanks so much for coming in, Becky.
Thank you, Phil.
You've been listening to an encore presentation of the Dooralong stories, which can be heard live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. and repeated 8 p.m. Sunday and 1 a.m. Wednesday, right here on 94.9 rema.cc.